All right, ready to go? All good. All right. Well, I'm here today with the Office for Fair Trading to talk about Operation Safe Christmas. Our inspectors have been out in force since September, literally going to hundreds of toy stores to make sure that toys are safe for kids this Christmas. They've inspected over 7,000 product lines and they have found 17 toys that have not lived up to our very high toy safety standards here in Queensland. They have removed now those 17 toys from the shelves. They included a number of small plush toys that had zippers or small parts that were not safe, a jigsaw puzzle that had pieces that were too small and presented a choking hazard, as well as a number of toys that did not have the proper warning labels, and also a number of pool toys that did not have the correct warning labels. We know that we have very high standards here in Queensland, and with Christmas just around the corner, it is so important to be thinking about making sure that the toys you buy for the little ones in your life are safe. We also know that if you are buying overseas, and online shopping of course is a lot more convenient for people these days, if you're buying toys from overseas, they may not meet our very high toy safety standards. So please be aware. If in doubt, there are some really easy tips. We call them the 6 S's of toy safety. The first one is size. The smaller the child, really, the bigger the toy should be. Anything smaller than the size of a ping pong ball is really too small for children under 3. The next one, of course, is surface. We know that little kids, no matter how hard you try, are going to put toys in their mouth. So make sure that you're buying toys that have a non-toxic surface. Shape is really important, of course, making sure they're not too small or too sharp. And strings are a really important one. Any toys that have long strings attached can be really dangerous for little kids. A really big, important one is secure battery components. We know how deadly button batteries can be, so making sure that any toys that have batteries have that secure battery component means that your kids are going to be safe. And the last and most important one is nothing beats supervision, making sure that parents, carers or friends are supervising kids while they're playing with these toys. So thank you again to our Office for Fair Trading inspectors who have been out doing this hard work for Queenslanders. You can find so much information on the Fair Trading website. You can even sign up for toy safety alerts that let you know the kinds of toys that have been removed from shelves. I also just want to remind people in the lead up to Christmas with all of the Christmas shopping to know your consumer rights. Again, check the Office for Fair Trading website, know the returns policy, know that if an item is faulty, you are entitled to return it. And again, I just wish everyone a very happy Christmas, and I know there'll be lots of kids out there very happy with their safe toys this year. Happy to take questions.
How difficult is the process when you talk about online shopping and things coming from overseas? Obviously, it is somewhat big process to sift through all the products.
Yeah, well, it means because our inspectors go to retailers, any toys that are sold online or overseas are not subject to the work of our hardworking fair trading inspectors. So again, it's just really, I guess, a prompt for people to be aware that toys that you're buying online have not been part of, Operation Safe Christmas and fair trading inspectors' hard work. So again, just be really mindful of things like button batteries, how small the toys are, what is the age-appropriate kind of toys for the kids you're buying for.
One last one. What are the potential fines that retailers will face?
There are really huge fines attached to retailers not complying with our very high safety standards, up to $2.5 million for individuals and up to $50 million for companies. So we take this very seriously. We have incredibly high standards for a reason.
What did you make of the text between Barry O'Rourke and Bailey?
Look, I understand the member for Rockhampton, Barry O'Rourke, has apologised to Minister Bailey. He has said it was inappropriate, it was done in the heat of the moment. Obviously a very passionate local member for a project in Rockhampton that he felt very dearly about, but he has apologised and I understand that the Minister has accepted that apology.
Has the backbencher ever talked to you about that?
No, I haven't had a backbencher talk to me like that. I have to say, though, in politics, you do have robust conversations and you do have local members that fight for projects and funding. I was in Rockhampton just last week with Barry and Brittany to announce further funding for a domestic violence high-risk team, something that they had been fighting for some time. So, we know that our backbenchers are passionate about their community, but of course it's not appropriate, and Barry has apologised.
After the federal budget, we've now found out that funding for dams in Queensland was delayed or pushed out on the recommendation of the Queensland government. We now have Labor backbenchers blaming the minister for not fighting hard enough for the Rockhampton Ring Road. The government showed down before the budget. Did it do enough to secure funding?
Oh, look, I know our ministers were in regular contact with their federal counterparts to ensure that Queensland got its fair share. It's wonderful to have a federal Labor government with a treasurer from Queensland that understands Queensland. So, look, our cabinet works very closely with the federal government to ensure that Queensland gets its fair share, and we have many hard-working, local, passionate members who are always fighting for projects in their patch, as they should do. But, of course, the language here was not appropriate, and the ministers accepted that apology.
There's a new report out today saying more juvenile offenders are being caught, but they're not facing punishment or being taken into detention. Should they be? What's the state of play?
Well, obviously it depends on the kinds of offences, but we have reversed the presumption of bail for young offenders who commit serious crimes. So those young people who may be stealing a car or, robbery, they are kept in custody longer. We do have the strongest youth justice bail laws in the country. We have the highest number of young people in detention. And I understand from the report today that there has been a small number of additional young people caught up in some of these charges. But remember, reversing the presumption of bail means that these kids are not released. They stay in custody until they come before a magistrate who can have all the facts before them to make the appropriate decision on a sentence. And we are one of the only jurisdictions in the country that does that.
The opposition's just held a press conference all about health, saying that there's not been enough done out in the Redlands, issues with Cleveland, ambulance ramping, especially at Christmas. They've had quite a few speakers today. Is the government dropping the ball on health?
Oh, we have had a huge investment in health in our budget, but let's not forget, right across the country, health systems have been under pressure due to COVID. There has been workforce issues. Queensland is not alone in that, but Queensland has a very strong plan to ensure that we are investing in our local communities. I know as the member for Waterford, which has Logan Hospital in the heart of my electorate, there is huge investment going into that hospital for more beds, a new maternity ward. I can only just tell you that we are doing everything we can to ensure that there is more investment going into our local hospitals. And yes, the system is under pressure. I don't think the Health Minister or anyone is denying that, but we are absolutely trying to meet that demand with huge investment. New satellite hospitals coming on board very shortly. We are doing a lot with a record health budget. Yes, there are challenges, we're aware of them, and we're working on them.
How long do you expect it to take to make a new forensic agency that will become justice?
So as the Commissioner said in his report, he expects it will take, 12, 18 months to have the new forensic system set up within the Department of Justice. But of course, we're working very quickly in the interim to set up a board. As the Premier said, the board will be in place by January. So we are doing everything to have an interim body set up. We've announced a new CEO yesterday. I want to reassure Queenslanders we have accepted all of those recommendations and implementation is already underway. So I look forward to announcing the members of that board very early next year, again to reassure Queenslanders that we are building now a nation-leading world-class forensic testing facility.
And the report talks about YSTR testing and how it's revolutionary for sexual assault investigations. As the AG, how concerning was it to read that Queensland Health After Body still haven't implemented this testing, which therefore impacts investigations?
It's incredibly concerning, and of course that's why we convened the Women's Safety and Justice Task Force. We had heard from sexual assault services that women, were not getting the very best service at Queensland hospitals, and the testing was not best practice. From that Women's Safety and Justice Task Force, the second report, 188 recommendations. We've announced many hundreds of millions of dollars to transform the system, including how we treat women who come forward for forensic testing and now how that testing happens. As you heard the Health Minister say yesterday, it was when the Women's Safety and Justice Task Force report was released that she was made aware of police concerns about testing failures at the lab. We're a government that does not hold back from calling reviews with experts to get to the bottom, to make sure that Queenslanders are safe, that victim survivors get the very best response, that they are believed, and that we have a criminal justice system that is trauma-informed and places victims at the centre. That's what that task force report was all about, and of course that's why we've had the Commission of Inquiry into the lab.
The opposition said that there will be cases where justice for some victims won't be served. It's too late. Is there a message, I guess, for those victims or their families that they won't get that justice served from? It's too late for them?
My message to victim survivors is to please come forward. We have now set up a QPS task force to deal with their matters. If they have questions about their case, whether it's under active investigation, whether it's before the courts, whether it was a case from many years ago, please get in touch. We have embedded a sexual assault worker in the task force. We announced $10 million to support sexual assault services yesterday so that any victim survivor who is triggered or traumatised by this very disturbing report gets the help they need. Yes, the Commissioner said there may well be miscarriages of justice, but we don't know that yet because we haven't reviewed the cases. We will be setting up very quickly a body, as recommended by the Commissioner, to review each and every one of those cases and to make sure that justice is served where it can be.
But can you appreciate, look, I'm a male, so I sympathise. Can you appreciate how difficult it must be for these survivors to come forward once again after what's happened?
Of course, I completely understand how difficult and how triggering this can be. I've served on a sexual assault service for 10 years. I know how hard this is, but my message is we have accepted all of those recommendations. Implementation is underway so that this does not happen again, and we want to be able to support victim survivors. We want to believe you, we hear you, we see you. We are acting to transform our entire criminal justice system. Our criminal justice system is far from perfect. That's what the reviews and the commissions have told us. But we now have an extensive program with nearly $600 million to transform our criminal justice system into a system that believes women when they come forward and supports them through the system as opposed to them getting lost in it. So I completely acknowledge how difficult this may be for so many victim survivors. But there is help and support available, and I would urge them to come forward.
Just one more for me on that. I know you've consulted with the Queensland Law Society as part of this. How difficult is it to, I guess, change the law, expand it in a sense, to make sure that it's right, that it's a bit more easy?
You mean in terms of double jeopardy reform? So currently there is an exception to the double jeopardy rule in Queensland, but it only applies to the offence of murder. You have to prove that you have fresh and compelling evidence and that it is in the interest of justice, and that is a decision that the Court of Appeal makes. I am saying that I want to consult with the Bar Association and the Law Society to expand that exception to double jeopardy to more serious offences other than murder. Most other jurisdictions apply that exception to offences other than murder, and I think Queensland needs to come into line with those states, and I think that has been highlighted through this Commission of Inquiry, and certainly the Commissioner in his interim report did find that Queensland, of course, has a very narrow exception to double jeopardy.
Quickly on another matter, the Premier hasn't been out to Tara or Chinchilla yet. Should she be out there soon?
I'm sure the Premier is taking advice from the Police Commissioner about what is best. Of course, the Premier, joined the Deputy Premier, the Treasurer and Minister Grace to lay a wreath in remembrance of the fallen police officers. I'm sure the Premier will get out there when she takes that advice when it is best to do so. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. It's sweltering over. Adrian Rudenko.
Could I get your name and title? And
Yep.
just quickly, how many toys have you assessed?
Over 6,700 product lines were assessed statewide. Each year we run this operation based in Brisbane. We also utilise our 8 regional offices, so we do get a full statewide operation in relation to Safe Christmas.
So that's a year-long program that's
No, Safe Christmas runs from the beginning of September till mid-November and specifically targets that pre-sale of Christmas toys and products for Christmas. We do run other operations throughout the year, including online. We do other operations in online because we do recognise that's a major issue, not just for toys but for all consumer products. But this operation itself runs from September to mid-November.
Have there been any toys that have been particularly shocking over the years?
Look, to be honest, any toy that's non-compliant is shocking because it has a risk that it can pose serious injury or death. But obviously banned products and products like that, so the yo-yo ball that we found this year, are extremely worrying because obviously there's a strangulation risk with those for young children. So any product though that's non-compliant is always a concern to the Office of Fair Trading.
Say your name and title
Yep.
for the camera.
Adrian Rodenko, Consumer Product Safety... Oh, sorry, I'll start that again because who I am would be good. Adrian Rodenko, Manager of the Consumer Product Safety Unit.
Thanks very much.
No worries.
Say
Yep.
your surname.
Rodenko, Roudenko. No worries.
We're going to look at the toys.
Okay, cool.
Cool.